Alright, so welcome to my first YouTube video. The first part of this video is somewhat of a hair tutorial, but not really, because I'm only showing you me taking down the hair as opposed to me doing the braids. So right here, as you can see, I have 6 cornrows going straight back, and I'm just unraveling them to prep for my braid out. And I like to braid my hair in this pattern because I can choose to wear it like this, which I do on many days when my hair is still wet and I'm like fresh out of the shower and I have to wait for my hair to dry, or I can just wear a wig or put a wrap on my head or whatever I want to do. But as you can see, I'm taking each braid out one by one, and this actually takes about 10 minutes for me to do, just because I'm being careful and I'm trying not to over separate and cause frizz. Alright, now that all the braids are taken down, right here I'm just styling the hair a little bit more. I'm laying down my edges a little bit, and I do not go overboard with laying down my edges because I don't have many baby hairs. My hair is just long around the edges. I don't have a lot of baby hair, and a lot of people, they have hair that's broken off around their edges and they're calling it baby hair. That's not baby hair, that's hair that's broken off. I don't have broken hair, nor do I have baby hair. So my edges are long. They're just as long as the rest of my hair because I don't have any. So I just basically try to lay them down and keep them nice and neat because I don't want them to frizz out throughout the day. It's okay if the rest of my hair does because it'll just make a big voluminous fro, and I like that look. I want it to be big and healthy looking, so we don't want the edges to be blown up too. So I'm just gonna lay those down. I'm also laying down here next to my part because I want the part to be really sleek and neat because I'm a perfectionist like that. And yeah, I'm just showing you the back and kind of showing you all my hair taken out. And now, since I'm done laying my edges, I'm going to take my scarf and tie it around them so that they lay down and they set while I start my makeup. And while I do by the time I'm done my makeup, the edges will be set and laid, and I'll be ready to take it down again, but that's going to be at the end of the video. So I'm all done there. Alright, so now that my hair is out of the way because it's tied back with a scarf, I'm gonna start the makeup portion of the video. So the first part was somewhat hair, and the second part's gonna be makeup. And this time I started my hair. This time I started my makeup with my brows. I don't always do my brows first. Sometimes I do my foundation and base makeup, but this time I'm gonna do my brows. And I'm using Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Ebony. I'm gonna switch to the powder soon just because the pomade dries out. And because it's an expensive product, it won't dry out fast. It'll take like 9 months for it to dry out, so don't worry about that. It has a really, really long life. It lasts like a really long time, but since I don't do my makeup every day, I don't get much use out of it in 9 months. So I'm just gonna switch to the powder because that won't dry out on me. And as you can see, I'm filling in my arch first and the parts of my brow that are actually sparse and need help. Then I'm going in and I'm blending it out. I do not do the whole thing where you outline the brow then color it in because that looks really, really dark and unnatural. And I'm also not over filling them. I'm only, as you can see, I'm starting out here at the arch and I'm doing the lighter parts first, filling them in, making them look a little bit fuller. And I'm just blending it out so that they look fuller because my eyebrows, they're not very thick. I want to make them look thick. And I'm sorry if I'm covering up my face. I didn't realize when I was recording this that I was covering it because I'm so not used to recording myself do my makeup. So in future videos, I'll be more conscious of it now that I'm seeing myself like cover my face up with the mirror. I'm sorry about that. It's my first video, so. And I'm just making sure they're even, or as even as they can be, because you know they say brows aren't twins, they're brows are sisters, not twins. So they don't have to be perfect, but they have to be close enough to where they resemble one another. And right here, I'm just cleaning up the arch, especially cleaning up the brows, making sure they're nice and neat. Underneath, I do not do the top of them. It's not necessary. And I do the underneath the brow because it just makes it look a lot neater. And I like a nice clean arch, so that's just my preference. You don't have to do this. Alright, so right here, I'm just using a glitter glue as an eyeshadow primer. You can use an eyeshadow primer, you can use a glitter glue, you can even use concealer to prep your eyebrows for eyeshadow. I just chose the glitter glue because it's nice and tacky. It gives your eyeshadow something to adhere to. Then I'm using a shadow, the same color or a close color to my skin complexion to get things started. This is a little bit more olivey, like it's a brown that has olive undertones, but it's still close enough to my skin tone that it doesn't look like I have a really distracting powder on. You can use white shadow on top of your base to make the colors appear more vibrant, or you can use a black shadow to make the colors appear more sultry, but I just chose one that was my skin tone because I'm going for more nude look today. This is an everyday makeup tutorial. It's not, you know, I'm not going in doing anything crazy. It's not a big deal. This is just my everyday makeup tutorial. I use this look anytime I'm just going somewhere really casual. This is my go-to for that. I'm using like a burnt orange color as my transition color, so I'm putting that to the crease up almost to my brow bone, but not quite. Using a dark brown in my crease to add depth there, and I am making sure it's blended very, very, very well. Blending is everything. going in and I'm using like a tannish taupey beige on my lid. And I'm making sure that it's blended out so that it doesn't look crazy. Now here I'm wiping all the fallout and excess mascara or eyeshadow that's underneath my eye to make sure that it doesn't smear. And I'm also wiping off the extra glitter glue that I put on the back of my hand when I was applying it. Now I'm just applying primer to my face. I use 3 different primers. One is a luminous primer from MAC, and it just helps give my skin like a radiant glow. The second is a mattifying primer to make sure my oily skin doesn't lift and remove the makeup. And the third is actually an eyeshadow primer, and I put that on my creases and around my mouth so that it fills in the creases so that my makeup doesn't crease throughout the day, so it doesn't look like I have wrinkles when I'm only in my 20s. Now I only wear stick foundation, and this stick foundation is Anastasia Beverly Hills in the shade Chestnut. It's for deep skin with warm undertones. My undertones are very, very, very warm, and if you don't know what undertones are, then you should look into them because it helps you find your foundation shade a lot easier. I only use stick foundation, especially this formula, because it stays matte for over 8 hours. Literally, I've worn this foundation for over 8 hours, like 12 hours, and it still looks good. It's still matte. It's not lifting. It's not transferring. It just looks so natural. And as you can see, it blends out super easy. I don't need a brush to blend it. I'm using a sponge, and it's very skin-like. As you can see, I'm blending it, and it doesn't look like I have a mask on or heavy makeup on. I'm also using a stick concealer from MAC. That's what I'm doing. I'm like spot applying it, whatever my foundation couldn't cover. I'm using my MAC stick concealer in the shade NW45, I think. I'm sorry if that's not right, but yeah, I think it's NW45, their stick concealer. The foundation I used was a medium coverage, so sometimes I go back in with the stick to cover anything else that my foundation couldn't cover. And I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Stick Foundation in Caramel for my highlight shade. It's a few shades lighter, so that gives me a highlighting effect. And actually this time on my forehead, I applied a little bit too much. You don't want to highlight your forehead too much. I should not have applied this much to my forehead because I have a big forehead already. So that was a mistake, but it's not a big deal because I can go in and correct it with contouring, and I actually will. So I highlight my forehead with that, even though I highlighted a little bit too much. Under my eyes, my chin, like around the bridge of my nose, around my cupid's bow, my mouth, and actually down the bridge of my nose too. Those are all my highlight areas, and I'm just blending that out very nicely. Once again, it's stick foundation from Anastasia Beverly Hills, so it's such a skin-like finish, and it blends out so easily. I love it so much. It's the only thing I use on my face now. I do not experiment with any other foundations anymore. Now I'm going in with Anastasia Beverly Hills Stick Foundation in the shade Ebony, and that's my contour shade. That's also for, it's a few shades darker than me, obviously, because it's for me to contour, and it's also for warm undertones. Now, for contour color, I'm technically bronzing because this has warm undertones, because I have warm undertones and it looks more natural on me. If I contour with cool undertones, which you actually can, it'll be more slimming for the face, but I like my contour to be natural, so I choose one for warm undertones. And I contour my forehead. I had to, because I had to balance out that highlighting that I did. I went a little overboard with that, and that's actually the first time I've done that. I usually don't do that, but you know, when you're filming, you get kind of nervous, mess stuff up sometimes. I did my cheekbones, my chin, and especially my nose. I get exhausted blending out sometimes because you're just tapping at your face, but it's so important. You cannot skip this or try to rush the blending stage. It's the most important part. It makes your skin look like skin. As you can see, I'm switching beauty blenders for each step. My foundation, my highlighting, my contouring, and my nose even gets its own sponge, because if you keep using one sponge all over your face, the colors are going to muddy together and your skin's going to look dingy. So you want to make sure your highlight stays highlighted and your contour stays contoured. And the smaller areas that require more attention, they need smaller sponges. Like on my nose, I use a smaller sponge. I moisturize my lips right there. That's not anything special happening. Now I'm just taking my powder and I'm setting underneath my eyes. I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills powder contour kit. ABH is my favorite brand, so you're gonna hear me call their name a lot. I just love their makeup, and they know how to make makeup for women of color. So yeah, I'm just highlighting. I'm using that contour kit, the lighter shades. I think it's Latte and it's shade Latte and another one. I can't remember right now. For highlighting and for contouring, I use Espresso and Cinnamon. Cinnamon's more like a bronzy shade. Espresso is more of my contour shade, so I'm using that to contour. I use the powder to set the cream anytime, especially if you have oily skin. Anytime you have like a cream or liquid base, you need to set it with powder. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm setting my contour with contour colors. I'm setting my highlight with highlight colors, making sure I get all over my face. And again, I'm covering my face up. I'm sorry. I have to be mindful of that when I'm recording. I'm just so not used to recording. This is my first time recording. So now I'm going back in and I'm blending out the powder just like I blended out the creams. That's blush. So there's really nothing for me to explain there. I'm just applying blush, and I'm making sure I set my nose contour as well as the rest of my face, because that's important too. We want that nose to stay snatched all day because I have a wide nose, and I want to make sure it's kind of slimmed up so I can take selfies better. Yeah, just applying another layer of blush. That's a different color. I like to mix two colors for blush. Now I'm cleaning up underneath my contour to kind of help it stand out a little bit more and make it a little bit neater, because if the contour is too low, it doesn't look right. That big fat fluffy brush has translucent finishing powder on it. It mattifies the face, it sets all the makeup, and it just makes sure that I'm super matte and not oily, and make sure my skin is all blurred and blended together. Now I'm using my Anastasia Glow Kit in Sun Dipped, and I'm using the bronzed shade, and I'm just highlighting my cheekbones. That's my favorite highlighter in the history of history, and my favorite glow kit in the history of history, the Sun Dipped one. And I love that shade for women of color. It's the darkest one in the kit. I recommend it to anyone. It's my favorite one. I love it so much. And you see, it's just gives you such a banging, gleaming glow. It's so beautiful. A little bit on the bridge of my nose, but not a lot, because I don't want to bring a lot of attention to my nose. We just want my nose to be like snatched. Now I'm adding eyeshadow to the bottom of my eye too. You know, when I first did makeup, when I was an amateur, I only put it on the top. You should finish up the eye and put it on the bottom too. So I'm going to use that transition color all over under the eye, and I'm going to use the brown in the outer corner of the eye. I'm trying to open up a lipstick. It's a new tube, but it's in the same color I always wear. It's NYX matte lip cream in Abu Dhabi. That's my favorite nude lip for my skin tone. I've not found one that beats that one. It's affordable, it's easy to find, and it's like my perfect nude shade. I love it so much. I recommend it to anybody who's like my skin tone, like brown skin. Yeah, I had to take it off the first time because the moisturizer that I had on my lip was like tinted and it was ruining the color, so I had to take that off and then reapply it. That's why I kind of wiped my lips with that makeup wipe before I did the second application. That's dewy setting spray. I used to use matte setting spray, but dewy setting spray helps your skin look like skin. It doesn't make it look like cracked and dry. Now I'm putting mascara on my lower lashes the same way that you would apply mascara to the upper lash, you apply it to the lower lash. I had to delete the clip of me applying my falsies because I literally covered my eyes the entire time with the mirror. So you can't see me putting the falsies on at all. So I just deleted that clip altogether. It wasn't worth adding. You couldn't see me doing anything. So now I'm taking off that scarf that I put on because my edges are laid now. And I could actually leave my hair like this. I don't have to separate it anymore. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to separate it more. Like I said, I didn't have to do that because my hair is so thick. It already looked good the way it was. But we are gonna give it some drama and fluff it out. And I'm just randomly picking sections that are kind of chunky and I'm separating them. Again, don't force sections apart that don't want to come apart. Like if you're trying to separate it and the hair is kind of resisting, they still want to hug each other and stay together, leave them alone, because if you force them apart, you're going to create frizz in your hair and your hair is just going to look poofed out. It's not going to look like a braid out. It's just going to look like you sweated it out already. So I'm just picking parts that want to be separated and separating them. And if your hair is thinner, you're going to want to separate more. If your hair is thicker, probably you can leave it alone. You won't need to separate it so much. Kind of like me, like I separate it for fun and for drama, because like my selfies are like 70% hair and everything else just comes after the hair, basically. Natural hair is my first love over makeup, over everything, so I give it attention. And as you can see, I'm applying oil to my hands to separate my hair, because if you separate it with your bare hands without any oil, you can cause more frizz. So I'm just adding oil to my hands while I'm separating, so I won't make my hair frizzy. And I'm separating some parts on the bottom, fluffing out, seeing how I like it. You know, I take a bobby pin and I pin that side down that I'm working on over there, so that it doesn't, the hair over there doesn't keep popping up. And that's it. I'm all done. Hair and makeup tutorials finished finally. There will be more videos to come, so stay tuned.